I've talked about this before on some level. Women's hockey. I'll wait till everybody turns the video off. I'm kidding, but that is how it feels sometimes. See, I watch women's hockey and I enjoy it. And I'm going to be honest about why I enjoy it. A, it's hockey. B, it's usually Team Canada against Team USA. Any Canadian hockey fan wants to see Team USA lose. We don't really care if Sweden beats us or Finland or Russia, but don't you dare let those Americans beat us. And three, some of them are pretty darn good looking. And that's the truth. And I don't feel bad saying it because there are plenty of women I know who watch hockey because they enjoy hockey. They may watch Olympics, they may watch Stanley Cup playoffs because they cheer for a certain team, and they always talk about how cute some of the guys are. So this is normal, everyday human behavior. Now, the retirement of Hayley Wickenheiser, and her place in hockey is an interesting one because this comes at a point in time where women's sports is elevated in some areas, but not in others. If you're a female curler right now, you're not going to make the same amount of money as men. You're still going to need to work. A lot of the men have to work too. It's not a really glamorous sport, but you're at least on a similar playing field. And while the women don't have the power the men do for curling and whatnot, I'll watch women's curling. Women's tennis. Women make very good money in tennis. They don't make as much money as the men, but they make very good money. And the Williams sisters have elevated women's tennis to not even status with the men, because again, a man and a woman against each other in tennis, it's going to be a quick match. But women's tennis is respected. Other than that, you have women's basketball, where you have a professional league where women get paid. Women's softball gets respect. There's not really any money in it for them. They have Olympics. But outside of Jenny Finch, I don't know of any huge stars that came out of that. And let's be honest, guys. Jenny Finch became famous because very good underhand throwing and strikeout, and she looked pretty good. That definitely didn't hurt her stock. So where does women's hockey come into this? Well, there are a couple of problems in women's hockey right now. Hayley Wickenheiser being the face of Canadian hockey for a long time. And yet, I don't know how much money she made off of it, but it's not enough to retire on. And there's a women's professional league, but it's struggling. And there are some doubts as to whether or not it will survive. I feel bad for women hockey players in that they give the same amount of effort for their country, for their team, and for their teammates as the men do. They have just as much heart. The game is different. And the funny thing to me, too, is when people say, well, the caliber of hockey is low compared to men's. Yeah, I get that. I do. Same with tennis. Same with almost any other sport. It's a different game when women play it than men play it. And yeah, if you put a women's hockey team on the ice against any NHL team, that women's team is going to get killed. That's not the point. And Hayley Wickenheiser kind of drives that point home. Fantastic player, hard on her sleeve kind of player, was willing to play men's league and play in a lower tier just for the competition of playing against men and just to prove she could play against men. But because it was a lower tier league, the amount of respect she gains for it, not a lot. And there are still people who are going to say, well, it's women's, so I don't care. I don't care. I've watched women's hockey at the Olympics and enjoyed it. I've watched men's hockey at the Olympics and enjoyed it as well. When the Canadian women won gold, and then the Canadian men did the same, I felt the same amount of pride for both of those wins. And yet, the women are putting their bodies on the line in a sport that doesn't pay them particularly well. If you're Connor McDavid and you get a massive concussion and you can't play again, there are insurance safeguards within the NHL. He'll be taken care of. If Hayley Wickenheiser goes headfirst into the boards and she can never play again, she doesn't have that same safeguard. And when I've watched women play hockey, yeah, it's slower and it's a little sloppier. But they run no less of a risk than men do. And financially, they're not getting the amount of money men do. And they never will. So with Hayley being out, and I mean, I remember Cammy Granato, and I'm old enough to remember the women who are the coaches now when they were the players. I remember watching back in 1990 when the women's team for Canada wore pink jerseys, pink and white. At the time, being a teenager, I thought, well, that's cool. The girls wear pink and white. Be even cooler if Canada had pink in its flag, or if Pepto-Bismol was the sponsor. But since neither of those things were the case, it's a little disrespectful, and it's a lot sexist. I think when I watch TSN and I see Tessa Bonhomme, and she garners some respect on there, that's a good sign for women's hockey. And I hope Hayley Wickenheiser garners a position at least at the next Olympics as an analyst, and potentially moves into a Hockey Night in Canada position as an analyst, because she's a smart player. And she really played well her whole career. Let me see if I can find one thing. So to drive my point home, I found some stats here. Women's World Hockey Championships. Hayley Wickenheiser played 41 games, had 31 goals, 37 assists, 68 points, and 34 penalty minutes. In Olympic hockey, she played 26 games, had 18 goals, 33 assists, 51 points, and 12 penalty minutes. Her first Women's World Hockey Championship was in 1994. Her last appearance at the Olympics was in 2014. Career spanned 20 years. She's now got a spot on Canada's Walk of Fame. And honestly, I'm overdue making a video specifically about her. But in order to put her work into proper perspective, you have to consider the fact that she was playing a women's game that doesn't pay particularly well. Now, in professional hockey against other men, she's played a grand total of 43 games, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points, 18 penalty minutes. And again, it's lower tier. She played for HC Salamat in Finnish hockey, a team that was partly owned by Teemu Selanne. Not a whole lot of information here. And then she played for Linden HC. So it doesn't have any information on that on Wikipedia. And it's just a team she played for, European team. And this was her, attempt at playing with men. And good for her. I do wish women's hockey got more respect, and if I could attend women's hockey games locally, I would do so. I would pay to watch women's hockey. And I hope that in the coming years it gets some of these women more money, because they deserve it. They've played for our country for a long time. Hayley wore red and white for Canada for 20 years. And when somebody disparages women's hockey, that's part of the reason it pisses me off. Because Hayley didn't get rich off of it. Certainly didn't get rich on anything on the ice. I know she had sponsorship deals off the ice, but in terms of actual on-ice pay, peanuts. Peanuts compared to what she would have made if she was a man. So, anyways, that's my opinion on that. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And if you're just browsing through, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And I will be back with more content later.